So yeah, another great opening scene, of
I'm sorry, hang on. Are we going to call it great?
Probably not compared to the Dark Knight, but I think the opening scene is really good.
Oh, see, I think it is incredibly weird and awkward to the point that Bane posting is an entire genre of comedy. You're listening to Second Cut. This is the podcast where we talk about topics in film theory, criticism, and history because we like doing it. I'm Jacob, and I'm the one who is so serious.
I'm Sam, and I'm the one who should probably mind his surroundings.
You would think with so many quotes I would have actually prepped a good one, but no. Waited until just this moment to figure that out.
Yeah, I mean they're very quotable. The three films in general. I mean, I think probably amongst my friends we probably quote Batman Begins the most, which is kind of a bit strange.
That is pretty strange.
Possibly because it's the most comic booky and kind of exaggerated, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think people don't remember that David S. Goyer has like credits on these movies. I should have felt good about Batman vs Superman for that reason.
Yeah, I mean he's got a big hand in the modern blockbuster landscape. Obviously co-writing these and then co-writing Man of Steel. Yeah, his fingerprints are all over the industry at this point.
Yeah. But yeah, we're talking about Nolan's Batman trilogy because Kieran couldn't join us, and I figured he wouldn't miss out on a comic book movie as much as a movie. Yeah, but these are Christopher Nolan's 3 Batman films, kind of his breakthrough into like major mainstream filmmaking. And Sam, what would you say the first word that comes to mind when I mentioned this trilogy?
Gritty, serious. Embarrassed that they're based on comic book material.
Yeah, well, I don't know that I mean, maybe it does go that far. I wouldn't have known that from watching it, but these are the grounded, gritty reboots of Batman. And there is a, you know what, you are right, because there is a reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of effort he goes into, to put like a real world logic behind every single one of his gadgets in Batman Begins. But saying that, he also has what's essentially a spaceship in the third film, so it's not that grounded and gritty.
Yeah, that is true. Like they have all the ridiculous comic book stuff, and it's just like, okay, but let's explain how and where.
Explain everything. Yeah.
Well, and this is the information age. This is the post 9/11 Batman. The whole bit about the Dark Knight at the end is he can surveil all of Gotham at once, which it turns out the U.S. government was doing the whole time. Things like that.
And when Morgan Freeman looks at you sadly and says, "This is wrong," then it's wrong.
Yep. But yeah, Sam, why don't you tell us why these Batman movies are so serious? You not to quote the Joker there, but you did watch a certain Batman film along with these.
Yeah, I mean it's the ultimate kind of contrast with the Joel Schumacher film. So yeah, I did, just because I hadn't seen it in a long time. I thought, I'll watch this again. I watched Batman and Robin the other day, and considering we've got another Bane appearance in this, it couldn't be more different. So they said that the Tom Hardy Bane is definitely more in line with the comics version, because though he doesn't pump himself full of like a super soldier formula, he's he wears a mask. He's strong and intimidating, but he's also really intelligent and calculating and a bit of a mastermind. Whereas the guy in Batman and Robin, he's a wrestler, who just grunts and kind of roars at people and throws people around and stomps, and he's just a big kind of blunt instrument, basically. It's like the very basic. But you look at how the character looks in comics, and if you didn't know anything about the character, you'd think, okay, he must be a big dumb henchman or something, but that's definitely not the character. But
Yeah, and
yeah, for that one, that's all very cartoony and toyetic and all that. Yeah, Christopher Nolan's take, and I suppose we should also mention his brother, Jonathan Nolan, and to a lesser extent David Goyer. That their vision for this universe was definitely, yeah, we'll take it back to basics. We'll strip away all the unnecessary kind of overly comic booky stuff, and the stuff that will remain will give a real world kind of logic and reasoning to. I mean, this is one of the reasons why we also got Casino Royale as like the the first in the Daniel Craig Bonds, because that was again strip everything away, all the gadgets, all the extraneous stuff, and go back to basics. And there was a lot of that around this time, kind of all, I suppose, in response to films like the Bourne series, and as you've kind of alluded to, yeah, kind of the whole 9/11 kind of vibe in general. It's very much deconstructing, the iconography we had and making it make sense in the world we were living through in like the mid-2000s.
yeah, they fit the thrillers of the era for sure, and they bring even the Raimi Spider-Man movies, like they're a bit more realistic, right? But they're still pretty silly, and they are very heroic, and they have the Danny Elfman score. Like these movies are still so different from that, and it's the color palette, the desaturated Joker. I think people right now that they're complaining about the Odyssey and like, oh, that's not what the uniforms looked like for the spot. I don't care. I don't care what real Greeks look like. What Nolan's going for is verisimilitude with reality, and everything he does fits that pretty well. Like the world is dark and gritty and horrible, and also pretty normal. And I think all of that, what he does is successful in a way that movies that come after just can't, because this has already done it. And also because like they want to have both things. They want to be dark and gritty and look silly. That's where like a lot of the Snyder stuff fails. And like, you just need to lean into fun. And have a good time with superhero movies.
Because the Snyder stuff sort of pushed it to almost like levels of parody. It was just so self-serious and kind of. See, no one kind of. I said I always thought Dark Knight and with some of its themes and kind of story choice, and it takes towards the end, it becomes almost quite operatic. Quite kind of heightened, but. But that's only for like when it's appropriate. Whereas I think Zack Snyder's stuff is almost trying to force that when it's not happening organically. It just comes across as a little bit kind of handled really.
Yeah, and also Nolan himself is kind of like a high concept action director, really. Like he's kind of like the modern day Steven Spielberg. He's making big genre movies that have a little more like depth and thought put into them. But I mean, they are still blockbusters at the end of the day.
You've got these big spectacular action sequences, but generally executed in camera as far as possible. That can be done. He'll build all the vehicles for real. Make sure they're actually drivable on camera. And blow up like whole buildings and crash planes into other buildings, and all that good stuff. And I think what I've always particularly admired about him, and obviously it's continuing of the Odyssey, is kind of his where so many kind of studios were kind of hopping on like the 3D bandwagon. The last time that came around in a big way. It's like 3D was an afterthought. It's this unless it's filmed for 3D, which a few things were like the Avatar films. It's just slap on a 3D kind of After Effects, and call it a day. We can make a little more money out of it. While that was going on around him, Christopher Nolan said, "No, I'm gonna keep filming my films on film, but not only am I going to do that, I'm going to embrace the biggest film format possible and really go for IMAX where possible instead." And that's again makes it kind of well worth a trip to the cinema to see it in that way you can only see on the biggest screen possible. It's and each of his films has embraced the IMAX technology more than the last two, right up till the Odyssey, which is going to be the first feature film shot entirely in the IMAX format, so just incredible.
Yeah. For me, seeing I think The Dark Knight's the first one I saw in theaters of these.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
watching, these as a, young teen or whatever, like these were my first exposure to serious superhero stuff because I
yeah,
didn't read comics. So this is the first chance I had at like deconstructing and thinking about like, what is Batman? What does he
yeah,
stand for? Yeah. And yeah, there are still issues with like the billionaire aspect of it that these
yes,
don't get into. But these were the movies for me where Batman wasn't just punching someone and going bam as Adam West or fighting like ridiculous, brightly colored, super villains. And I
I
really
think,
was kind of had my teenage
yeah,
mind blown by like, what can superhero movies be
yeah.
and what can they convey and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got to credit Christian Bale, kind of, that he's such a skilled actor that he kind of gives. It's probably the first Batman performing to give probably equal weight to both sides of the character, and make them both interesting and compelling in their way. I mean, Michael Keaton was interesting. I always thought he was a more interesting Bruce Wayne than he was a Batman because he kind of brought that kind of melancholy to it, but also quite a bit of humor, Whereas, he's basically he was just a depressed man, living alone in his house, and then just dealt with kind of the enforced social situations he had to undertake with like just quite a bit of awkwardness, kind of awkward humor and bad jokes. But I think Christian Bale really pulls off he's got plays up to like the playboy aspect. He's got to be a bit of an ass, when he's in that mode. But then kind of when he's Batman, he's like obviously like a force of nature, and just and they also kind of lean a bit more into the kind of detective aspect, particularly in the Dark Knight, I think, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and this will be the last time I kind of touch on like other Batman stuff, but like thinking about these, watching them all back to back to back versus the Matt Reeves one, that one is a lot more comic book, like serious comic book style, and just a lot of credit to Matt Reeves for being able to visually make such a good, expressive, serious Batman film that
I mean,
this doesn't achieve visually.
Yeah, I think his version of Gotham. I mean, usually you can tell what the take on Batman is just by how the city is presented, and I'd say the Matt Reeves Gotham is very much like the Tim Burton Gotham. It's just a kind of a gothic kind of hodgepodge of all these different architectural styles and stuff. It's almost like an impossible city, but really striking. Kind of it's nowhere and kind of everywhere at the same time. Whereas Nolan basically decide from the start, well, Gotham's just Chicago.
Yeah, it's like Chicago, New York, and then their football's team is Pittsburgh. So
yeah. I mean, like the first film, I think was mostly kind of soundstage stuff because it was like set in like the slums, But obviously, it's lots of very distinctly Chicago sequences in Dark Knight, and then a bit of Wall Street and, as you say, Pittsburgh in the third film. But yeah, he is very much going for this is a real city with real people and real issues, and that all real world kind of crime and corruption and all those kind of things going on. It just so happens that a guy dressed like a bat and a guy dressed like a clown are fighting in amongst it.
Yeah. I found a good article from the Los Angeles Times called Rescuing Batman that came out May 2005 that got into the background. So Nolan apparently went into Warner Bros. And gave a 45-minute point-by-point pitch, and they signed him without like any treatment, script, anything. And yeah, he was going for a superhuman, or sorry, not a superhuman, just a guy that does a lot of push-ups apparently. And I mean, he's just going for creating a realistic Batman that gets them away from Batman and Robin because of its camp at excess and toyetic design. I remember I had a little Robin from that Batman and Robin movie. It was very silly.
Yeah, I think I had all the Mr. Freeze stuff. I think I had a Mr. Freeze and I had like a thing about his tank car thing and like something to do with, I'm sure I had like a Batman with ice skates or something on as well. I mean, rewatching it the other night, actually, I kind of said, it's still a bad movie. There's no denying that. It's so kind of misjudged. But I can't deny it looks brilliant. It really does. It's like if you just embrace like the tone of it, it's just the production design is gorgeous. It really is. It's like the sets and costumes and the way they're lit and the way they're photographed. It's just so visually kind of stunning. But it just wasn't what anyone wanted at that point. I think all the kind of comic fans in the '90s, they were just. I think Josh Clooney's he's apologised since. He said, I've refunded quite a few people out of my own pocket. Who said they went to the film and were disappointed. But. It's kind of it killed the superhero movie for a while, but it's I suppose it just made sure that to come back, and revive it again, you had to deliver something very different. I mean, Marvel, do and whoever they sold their characters to at that point, so. Sony, released Spider-Man, and then Fox released X-Men. And they're both very different to obviously what Batman and Robin was. And then, when finally you bring Batman back and a few years later, you got to present it kind of people with a fresh take, I think, to get them back and put faith in the genre again, I suppose. And it seems to have paid off.
I should have looked into what the online nerds thought about Nolan's Batman movies, like once they were announced, but.
I bet they loved it because it would have felt like he was taking their hobby really seriously,
Well, that or it's going to be too. I mean, there may have been older folks who were like, no, I only want Adam West Batman style. Yeah. Do not deviate. Yeah. But yeah, apparently Christian Bale was the first actor Nolan met for the role. And Bale owned it in the screen test, even while wearing an older Batman costume. So, that's how Bale got the role. And, yeah.
I've heard the story about him because he a bit like De Niro back in the day. At that point, Christian Bale was famous for putting on weight or losing weight for roles, really committed to it. So the Machinist, he looks like a skeleton. And then he went straight from that to bulking out, to like kind of wrestler proportions for Batman. And he walked in the room and basically said, well, we said we wanted you in shape. We didn't say we wanted a tank, a tank on legs, They asked him to maybe take it back a bit, just slim it down, because they want someone a bit more kind of lean and kind of athletic rather than looking like Arnie,
Sorry, Sam. Is it Cillian or Cillian Murphy?
It's Cillian.
I'm going to get it wrong.
It's Cillian.
Cool. Perfect. Yeah, Cillian Murphy apparently screen tested for Batman. I did not know that, so that was fun to know. And Nolan said he met Heath Ledger, for the role of the Joker before there was a completed script, and they shared a similar concept of the Joker. We can get more into that later, of course. Nolan wanted Harvey Dent to have like all American charm. That's how kind of Aaron Eckhart came in. He definitely has that look. He was in what shark movie did I just see him in with the plane crash? Is it Deep Water or something? The Rennie Harlan one. Yeah, he's really good in that. I like him a lot as Harvey Dent.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I'd seen him in at this... No, he wouldn't have been... Would it have been this? I can't remember what year it was. There was Thank You for Smoking, which was kind of released around this time. I can't remember whether it came before or after The Dark Knight. But yeah, he wasn't a big name when he was cast, I don't think. But yeah, after seeing this, I was a big Aaron Eckhart fan. I usually like him in anything he's in.
Yeah. All right. I guess... I've got all my background stuff that I found out of the way.
I mean, one thing I will say, I think key about this trilogy, obviously, as good as Christian Bale is, and all the guys play the villains are. I think what really makes it is a trio of kind of supporting actors in this, and it's Michael Caine as Alfred, Gary Oldman as Gordon, and Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox. I think they're like the old reliables that kind of keep the ship steady, and everything else kind of everything else can kind of happen around them, but as long as they're in place and they're just doing what they do really well, they can provide like the heart and the soul of the whole thing. Really, they're almost like all extensions of like Bruce's conscience, in various different ways. It's kind of the guides him in various ways. So they're all. I mean, they're such like consummate professionals and all like veterans at this point. Especially obviously Kane and Freeman. But I just think that they're all just so good in this, and especially kind of taking on like the three characters which in previous versions were always very much like. They got like a couple of scenes, you got Alfred bringing in a drink into the Batcave, or telling him, Commissioner Gordon wants to get hold of him, or then Gordon would come in, with a megaphone, probably, trying to do police stuff, before Batman came in to save the day. And I don't think Lucius Fox had been in any previous film version. I mean, I think he'd been in some of the animated stuff, but this was like his film debut. But they're all like really significant players in all three of these films. I think that's very much the film's benefit.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So getting into Batman Begins a little bit more specifically, that is the story of how Batman became Batman, and then a big criminal face-off that he has. And for me, that is the biggest issue with the movie, is that it's kind of two movies. The first half being the origin story, the second half being the Scarecrow bit. And I do wish that there could have been just a bit more. I know there is cohesion with Ra's al Ghul, played by Liam Neeson, but I don't know. I wish it was more Scarecrow or Ra's al Ghul focused in that case.
Yeah, I mean the origin story and the Scarecrow stuff was kind of left over from previous scripts. There were scripts they were going to be doing in the 90s, I think, before Batman and Robin derailed everything. So I think if Batman and Robin had been a success, Joel Schumacher wanted to come back, and he wants to do something different. He wants to do a gritty kind of prequel kind of film, based on year one, the storyline in the comics, the prequel storyline in the comics. So that was kind of based off that idea. But then you also had another idea for a fifth Batman film, which I think was going to feature Scarecrow. And it was going to the showpiece, the main kind of selling point of it would have been, at one point he sprays fear gas at Batman, and he hallucinates Jack Nicholson's Joker coming back. So that would have been like the big sub job. I'm kind of upset we never saw, because that would have been awesome. But so those elements were left over, and then Ra's al Ghul and League of Shadows stuff, I think, had been a more recent addition to the comics, so they probably hadn't been thought about having done that, in the film before this. I think they become more prominent, in the 90s, I think, in 2000. So, it is a slightly kind of awkward marrying of those storylines, and I'm always loved kind of, you can kind of get away with it in a comic book film, I suppose, but generally I don't really like stories about kind of secretive, all-powerful organizations controlling everything, and they've got seemingly infinite resources and just spring up everywhere, and they kind of claim to be redressing the balance, and putting everything right, but they're just terrorists of an ideology in essence, really.
Yeah, and obviously it explains how Batman became a ninja. I mean, so that is really, I mean, there is the larger story bit, but I mean, that is ultimately their purpose, is they explain to the viewer, how did Batman learn how to fight people despite being just a guy?
Yeah. They explain why he's got the arm spike things, making him look a bit like a bat. Oh, it's a ninja weapon, of course it is.
Well, that's the cool thing about the League of Shadows. They care very much about semiotics. It's like, we're making you an idea. You need to be a symbol. They need to fear you. And then Bruce Wayne takes that and goes, okay, but I'm also going to be helpful and not destroy Gotham. Because that is also Ra's al Ghul's whole thing, is they purge civilization as it becomes decadent.
Yes. We sacked Rome. We burnt London to the ground. We filled ships with plague rats.
And I'd forgotten exactly how the story's told, because this, I do think it's the second best of the three, but it's my least favorite. So I didn't remember this being told in intercut flashback between Ra's al Ghul being like, "What's your backstory?"
Yeah. It's a very Nolan thing, isn't it? You know, let's not tell things in linear fashion. Let's kind of get certain points and then ping back and forth in time. You know, whenever it's most dramatically effective. Yeah,
yeah, and it works.
It does.
Yeah.
It's also the first of these Batman films. You know, the first Batman film, kind of live action Batman film, because I think Mask of the Phantasm does this as well, but to really dedicate some serious screen time to his parents aren't just, you know, kind of people who've died tragically off screen. You know, they have proper characters in this. We kind of get to know them and what they're about and what their ideals were, you know, and how he's going to try and echo them, through time, basically. And I think it's the most kind of emotionally affecting kind of version of that origin story, because you do spend time with him as a kid, and actually speaking to his parents.
That being said, I do think the billionaires being like, well, why do we fall down? Like, I mean, that's just a bit trite.
And his dad's thing about I've got this massive multi-billion-dollar company, but I work at the hospital. I leave running this company up to better men. And that does smack a bit of a rich person being a bit guilty about their wealth. So I'm going to do a bit of charity work where I can.
Now, look, we're going to touch a little bit on Dark Knight Rises here as I ask. Ra's al Ghul is a Northern Irish guy playing a guy speaking with an American accent whose daughter is European.
Yes.
And that he may or may not have grown up in a foreign pit in a vague place, but I'm not sure if Ra's al Ghul is from there.
In the comics, Ra's al Ghul and Talia are both Middle Eastern. Again, I don't know if this states specifically which country they're from, but definitely Middle Eastern heritage.
Sure. Maybe like that part of Russia where all the UFC fighters are from.
Sure, why not? So it's I mean, Liam Neeson, he's no matter what nationality he's playing, he's always Liam Neeson, really, isn't he? He can never quite shift the Northern Irish twang, I don't think, to his voice.
So much that he comes back as a Force ghost. Like, he's still Qui-Gon Jinn.
I know. I do find it hilarious that, like, a few years after Phantom Menace, he actually came back and said, yes, now I'm going to do evil Qui-Gon Jinn. I'm going to be the mentor again. The guy who's a bit of a renegade and doesn't do things right by the book and does everything necessary, but with villains' monologues instead of like philosophical musings.
I wonder what would happen if you swapped Ewan McGregor and Christian Bale. Just that would be that'd be weird. I don't think I'd like Ewan McGregor Batman as much, to be honest. But because I remember the Bane pit, so so much in my mind. I was like, so Ra's al Ghul's from a pit, but he's American. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, but it's a comic book movie, even if it is super serious.
Well, it's Talia, isn't it, who manages to climb out of the pit with the help of Bane, and then Ra's al Ghul's somewhere on the surface in that country, and he kind of.
Oh, so maybe Ra's al Ghul impregnated a lady and threw her into a pit.
I think so. I think that's meant to be the implication. Yeah.
Okay. What a bad guy.
I know, right? So maybe her mum was French, and she picked up an accent while they're both down in the pit or something.
Sure. And then I have a note here that just says Katie Holmes. Dawson's Creek has recently ended. I don't know what movie she was in prior to this, but like, man, it's so nice to see Katie Holmes.
Yeah, I remember her she was in The Gift, wasn't she? The Sam Raimi kind of psychic film in the late was that about 2000s? But yeah, I think her career sort of started to take off around it. Was she with Tom Cruise at this point?
I think so. This is around the time Tom Cruise was jumping on Oprah's couch.
Yeah. And it's funny. I do remember just growing up and watching this quite a bit. Because obviously, I would have seen this in the cinema and I've saw it many times on DVD after that. I remember always having issues with Katie Holmes and probably being a bit unfair to her. Saying, "Oh no, she's not very good in this role. She's a bit annoying. She's a bit wooden." But going back, actually, I don't think she's bad at all. I'm not sure if the character's the most interestingly written in the world, but she does what she can with it. I think the problem is you contrast her with Maggie Gyllenhaal, who just gets to do all the interesting Rachel stuff in the next film, so she's always good pale in comparison to her, really.
Yeah, and she's like the assistant DA or whatever in this too. Like she gets to do some stuff with the mob, but mostly she's just like the girl next door who's like pretty but has a real job and that kind of stuff. But for this movie.
Yeah, you also get really entertaining kind of additions to this cast, like Tom Wilkinson as Falcone, which is and he's always set such good value to Tom Wilkinson. It's like, he's British, but he's played a lot of Americans over the years. I mean, he does that really good kind of mobster growl, of his voice in this. Just scene where Bruce goes to confront him, at that restaurant, and there's that big monologue about the power of fear. It starts with you're taller than you look in the tabloids, Mr. Wayne, and no gun, I'm insulted. It's just a really good take on the character, I think. But I just love how it's like they build him up as this massive threat and then put him in the room with Scarecrow, and yep, that's it. He's out of the picture. He's completely insane now.
Yeah, and the person driving him insane, Cillian Murphy, is great in this role in all three movies.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Nolan obviously loved working with him so much in that first one. He says, "Yeah, I'm going to have you back in each film just for a single scene, but don't worry, it'll get you an Oscar one day."
But by the way, Wikipedia has this note. It says, I already kind of mentioned this, but this phrasing: Nolan decided against casting an Irish actor like Murphy for Batman, but he cast a British guy still.
Cast a Welsh guy more than that, yes.
No Irish. Irish need not be Batman.
Yeah, I mean, is it just basically because Christian Bale, even at this point, was well known for being able to do good accents, kind of not really using his own voice very often, maybe. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, sort of people have that attitude about Bond, saying Bond's got to be British, even though we've had a Welsh Bond and an Irish Bond so far, and an Australian Bond. I think as long as their British accent is fine, then it's not really an issue.
Jacob Elordi is next up. Great to hear. Yeah. For me, like the first half of the movie is incredibly well paced. I love the origin bit.
Yeah,
I would have been fine if it had just stayed all about the League of Shadows, but I get it's still, at its core, it is a comic book movie, embarrassed of Batman and Robin or not, and it needs a guy in a mask doing something ridiculous.
Exactly. Yeah, I think for the marketing, they had to say we've got this famous villain from Batman's Rogues Gallery in this one that we haven't used before, so. I mean, back in the day, in the 90s ones, the villains were all kind of big stars, and they were like the main people kind of driving the marketing, and they're always credited above the actor playing Batman, So at least that kind of changed here, It's like the villains are kind of a force in this, but they don't overshadow. Well, Heath Ledger probably overshadows, but no one else does particularly.
Yeah, and then. Because Ra's al Ghul is controlling Scarecrow, kind of you used that quote earlier about the plague rats and sacking Rome. Their plan here is we're going to poison the water supply with crazy serum gas, whatever.
And then turn it into an aerosol, or choke the city basically, because there's a very convenient microwave emitter that apparently, if you move it through the city, can cause all water mains to explode and vapor to kind of engulf the city. I mean, don't think about it too hard because I think there's a lot of issues with that on the logic level, but. It's quite a good Batman level villain kind of plot though, isn't it? That's the kind of thing you'd expect in a comic book arc, I think.
It's the kind of thing that is big, but it's not like the Suicide Squad big, where it's a giant laser beam machine shooting into the sky. Like it does feel, you know, I mean, it's a grounded supervillain plot. I'm going to poison the water supply and destroy. They do say only Gotham. They never say, like, they're not going after America.
I mean,
it's Gotham City.
All three films are about Gotham City, aren't they? Really, the action never really spreads kind of further than that. You know, it's always about the fate of the city and its people, which again I think is quite typical of Batman. Really, and it's not Superman where where it's like world-ending events. You know, it's a bit different.
Yeah. And then I was trying to figure out, like, what the best action scene is for me, and I don't think I have one. The Scarecrow laughing gas bits are really good, and I don't know, the dialogue scenes for me are the ones that really stand out from this, which isn't great for the action movie. If I were to answer, I'd go with, like, the first training bits are probably my favorite action in the movie.
Yeah. The fight on the ice field, is rightfully iconic, isn't it? But I think probably pure action. I think for me, I've got to go with the Tumbler kind of chase, nighttime Tumbler chase. You know, he's driving a black tank.
Yeah. And then, like, also Gotham is very, like, slummy in this movie, and I like that. It's very seedy.
Everything's all got that sickly kind of street-light yellow tinge to it, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's a great mob Batman movie, and so is The Dark Knight too in its own way. But this one doesn't have the Joker in it, so it does feel more grounded, and I enjoy that. At its core, it's a mob movie. Yeah,
and it's also, interestingly, the only one of the trilogy that's most takes place at night. You know, both Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises kind of move into daylight for the most part, which is kind of interesting. You know, not many people have the courage to show Batman doing Batman stuff during the day, because I suppose it's so much harder, to make it look kind of cool, menacing.
Yeah. Well, he is the Knight. So, and I always mix up, like, what scene is in what movie. This is the one that has, and this is the paraphrase, because where are the drugs? And
where are the drugs going?
Yeah. So I heard the line in the movie, and I was like, oh, it's not where are the drugs. And then I forgot what the real line is, and I kept saying, where are the drugs to myself. So,
I mean, we're going to talk about it sooner or later, but what do you think of Christian Bale's Batman voice? I mean, previous iterations of Batman had kind of differentiated between Batman and Bruce Wayne. So, like, Michael Keaton did his normal voice for Bruce Wayne, obviously, and then Batman kind of did it a bit more like a whisper, basically. Famously, with the animated stuff, Kevin Conroy very much had a different cadence to the voices of the different characters. But Christian Bale doing his normal American accent for Bruce Wayne, and then just goes this ridiculous gravel kind of for Batman. I think it begins, it gets it about right. I think he possibly pushes it a bit far through, for the other two, really, itself.
I guess it's how do you approach it? Like, I don't necessarily like the Snyder voice changer. Yeah. I don't remember what Pattinson does. What is his Batman voice?
I think it's more like Michael Keaton. I think it's just more of like a whisper, really. Just I think it just changes his vocal range slightly.
Can you do the impression for me?
I can't. I can't remember. Okay. I can't remember his. It's not far off.
What about Keaton's? Can you do Keaton's?
I'm trying to think online.
Just say, where are the other drugs going?
Where are the other drugs going?
Okay. No, whenever we lay it all out like that, I like Bale's the best. Like, if I were going to run around as Batman, I guess if I'm a billionaire, maybe I get the voice changer. That may be the most practical. Yeah. But if you're not going to do that, then doing this is the best choice.
Yeah.
It's intimidating.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Scarecrow gets like the voice changer in this as well, doesn't he? I mean, that must be...
And it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like making him sound like menacing, but kind of, as part of his illusion, but then having Batman just doing it by just talking a bit more gravelly,
Oh,
Uh,
the best visual in the movie, by the way, is the Batman hallucination.
yes, yeah,
Where
definitely.
like you see a spooky, scary Batman
Yeah,
face under
yeah.
the drug.
I think my favourite moment, because I think you do forget you things like these. There's that ultra serious, no gags movies, but there are occasional jokes. They're probably the most jokes in this trilogy than probably all of Christopher Nolan's other work put together. A favourite gag, I think, is in Arkham Asylum, where he's walking through and blowing locks off doors and stuff, to escape the cops. And he blows the door, walks through, and these two inmates just sitting there, kind of staring at him. I think he just nods and goes, "Excuse me," and then just carries on.
Well, there's the dry humor from like Alfred and Lucius too. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
they're not devoid of humor. It's just not like, you know, LOL comedy.
yeah. Does it come in black?
Yeah. All right. Do you have anything else on Batman Begins, Sam?
No, I think obviously you can just see kind of its impacts, on blockbusters. Kind of, well, really only, up until now, it's like I don't think kind of Marvel's a whole separate thing, so I won't include that. But I mean, bear in mind, Iron Man came out the same year as the Dark Knight, but Marvel sort of went off on their own tangent, really. But I think other superhero movies, I think, were mostly chasing this and kind of what works about it, and how can we kind of, I mean, arguably maybe it could contribute it, like a lot of that kind of push for prequels, and reimaginings, so, but yeah, generally, I think it definitely, Christopher Nolan definitely kind of set his stall out and kind of presented a generally interesting new take on the character, and got the perfect cast together to execute it, and would obviously build on that, for two more films, going bigger and more bombastic, as over the
Well,
next decade nearly.
Sam, you mentioned this specific movie's influence, and I think the influence of the first two movie, maybe the whole
Yeah,
trilogy, it comes
yeah,
like a little bit after the Dark Knight, especially.
yeah,
I just looked up like 2006 to 7 superhero films. You got X-Men Last Stand,
yeah,
Superman Returns,
yeah.
Ghost Rider, Spider-Man 3, Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. Man, I mean, Fantastic Four really
It's
decided to go the
it's
Batman route after that.
yeah, it's mostly dog shit, that kind of selection, isn't it? So many kind of attempts just didn't quite get it right. So basically, we're hanging around for either the next Nolan attempt at one of these, or for the MCU to start in earnest, really.
Yeah, and thank goodness he got away from it after The Dark Knight Rises. Just got out,
Yeah,
kind of wrote the
yeah,
treatment or whatever for Snyder, whatever he did,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
left.
yeah. Tease that Robin spin-off that never happened, and moved on.
Oh God, yeah. No, we'll talk about him later. The Dark Knight came out in 2008,
Yeah,
and it and The Godfather and a few other, like, it is always fighting for the top spot on the IMDb top 250. It probably is the cause of so many terrible Joker and Joker like things in
do,
society.
do you remember? Do you remember Halloween 2008? Do you remember how many Heath Ledger's Jokers you saw? I will say, including me, by the way. I did that.
There's the Office joke about that, but I'm also thinking of, like, people going on social media dressed up as the Joker, making the Joker their persona, saying, "I'm the Joker, baby." We wouldn't have the proliferation of Joker identity throughout society without this movie, and I think it's hard to separate that from Heath Ledger dying, but
Yeah,
I think even if he had lived, this would have been impactful.
yeah, because at least kind of the Batmen that kind of follow Christian Bale were kind of all doing their own thing and kind of successful to various extents, I suppose. But no one wants to follow up Heath Ledger as the Joker. I don't think you're fighting a losing battle. It's like
I think
arguably,
Jared Leto wanted to, if we're being
yeah,
honest, but
yeah. But like Joaquin Phoenix, interesting performance, awards worthy, maybe. But yeah, just I suppose it was just those films were just so much, not this kind of film where they're just completely their own thing, for better and worse, But yeah, I do pity the next person who has to follow up. I mean, we've sort of had a hint of him in the Batman, and apparently he does have a role in the second film as well. Barry Keoghan is the next Joker. So, and we've heard him, we've not really seen him yet. So, unless you watch that deleted scene on YouTube.
I have not, because I don't care. If it comes out, I'll care. But
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the concept for the next version of the Joker is basically Heath Ledger again, but he's not kind of he's not like, put a razor in his mouth or anything like that. It's Joker with bad chemical burns. Basically, it's what would happen if this guy actually did fall in a vat of toxic waste. So yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a thing.
Yeah. Heath Ledger obviously died several months before the film's release, which I didn't realize. So this came out in July of 2008. He died in January.
I remember this was the era of viral marketing, and like every new big film had its own dedicated website with like various things you could read and videos and behind the scenes stuff. And basically, since the announcement of the film, first thing you saw was like a still of quite a terrifying still actually of Heath Ledger. Big Joker reveal and just an extreme close-up of his face, in the shadows, but you can see like the scars and kind of straggly hair and everything like that. And that was basically emblazoned on the site for the whole of the Mice campaign. There are all these Joker-focused kind of section of the website. And then basically, as soon as Heath Ledger died, they shifted the focus of the campaign and to Harvey Dent, basically. It became like a Harvey Dent kind of campaign website, basically. I believe in Harvey Dent and everything, which maybe they would have done kind of nearer the film's release anyway, because they are like two villains in the in the film. But yeah, I think they did wonder kind of what they were going, kind of how it was going to come about and how it'd be received. And I mean, obviously they must have known that he was fantastic in the role, but in terms of the shadow that would be cast over the film when it's released, or would it just attract people kind of morbid curiosity kind of thing? I mean, think of like, people have died before films have been before films been released before. People have died on set before. But it definitely casts a shadow.
Yeah, I had really only seen him, I think, in A Knight's Tale. Like, I knew he was in 10 Things I Hate About You, but I hadn't seen Brokeback Mountain because I was a teenager.
Yeah.
But yeah, watching this and then, he's dead. And it's unfortunate. The first thought I kind of had was like, man, he's so good. I want to see him in more movies.
I know. But I think you definitely get the sense that he'd be like Cillian Murphy, who would have probably been another muse of Christopher Nolan, I think. I reckon, obviously Bane aside, because he wouldn't have been another Batman film, but I think you can basically see him in every subsequent Nolan film playing probably the same role that Tom Hardy ends up playing. You can see him in Tom Hardy's role in Inception, or Tom Hardy's role in Dunkirk. It's I think they're quite similar in a lot of ways as performers, Tom Hardy and Heath Ledger, in terms of their total. I mean, because problem is Heath Ledger, he was like Matthew McConaughey a few years later. He was a guy known for being a pretty boy who was in a few rom-coms, but he was just starting this kind of turn to more interesting roles, more transformational roles, and it's a shame we wouldn't have seen where that would have taken him in the next few years.
Yeah, and of course his last film was The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. I do remember those trailers, and
but I mean, there's such a nice end to that story, making the best of a horrible situation. Only having shot a handful of scenes, so what better tribute to our friends and to basically always acting friends coming together and saying, yeah, we're going to pay tribute to him by playing the other elements of his character and explain it that he's going through an imaginary world where he sees himself differently every time.
Yeah. And this was also the film that brought on the we need more Best Picture slots, because this is the first superhero movie that could have competed for Best Picture. I don't know if it should have won, but it deserved to be up there. It did win for Best Supporting Actor and Best Sound Editing. But
exactly. It's definitely the catalyst, I'd say. I mean, it's the reason that Avatar got a nomination, the year after, because they'd expanded the nominees by then. I think if they hadn't, if it was still what it used to be, 5, 6 films. I can't remember what it was before they expanded it.
It was 5.
5, yeah. So if it's still 5 films, that first Avatar wouldn't have got a Best Picture nomination, I don't think. And
Yeah.
obviously, it led to Shape of Water, Sinners, all those kind of films in the following decade, and more kind of genre films.
Get Out.
Yeah, Get Out. Actually getting some recognition, even not winning. At least they're acknowledging they're successful. They're the best example of their type.
If for some reason you haven't seen The Dark Knight, it is about Harvey Dent and Batman trying to purge Gotham of its criminal element when the Joker shows up to take over the criminal element and show everyone that Gotham can't be saved and man is inherently evil and other philosophical things like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's I love the kind of the thematic kind of contrast. So you have Batman, the Dark Knight. The hero who can be hated, who can be hunted, and he'll do it if he needs to. But by night, and Harvey Dent, in theory, the White Knight, who will do everything in the light of day, in search for truth and justice, and fight the criminals in the courtroom using the judicial system. It's. And,
the part where they are like
basically
get the RICO Act, like the other lawyers have never heard of it.
Yeah, the RICO Act. What's that? Not for the benefit of the audience at all. Yeah. I mean, again, comic book movie. Everything's heightened. But yeah, I like that it comes down the argument of no one way is the right answer. Really, there's flaws to both ways of doing things. You can't just beat up every criminal you see until they give you what you want or they're in jail. And equally, the justice system is corrupt and not fit for purpose, and judges and cops are paid off left, right, and centre. It's money talks as always. So it really digs into these kind of themes, but also goes for things I mentioned earlier on, this kind of more operatic kind of element towards the end. The whole Harvey Dent thing, I think, of him literally being transformed, physically transformed, but him kind of fighting for ultimate justice, going, fairness, of Chance. Chance took his love away from him and saved him, but changed him irreversibly, so he's going to redress the balance and take everyone who's important to the people he deems responsible. So I mean, Christopher Nolan, he talks quite a bit about his main inspiration for Dark Knight was Heat. He said, "What if I did Heat, but with Batman and the Joker in it?" Basically, and you definitely see that in the first act, especially. All the cops and criminals kind of stuff, and the opening heist scene, is so Michael Mann it hurts.
And real quick on what you were saying about Harvey Dent, like that stuff's also in there all along. He has that part where he says to Rachel, like, "Oh, I wish I could just kill all of them or whatever," and he's already flipping the coin before, and it's just the Joker bringing it to the forefront and making that a primary aspect.
Though of course, when we find out it's a two-headed silver dollar, so he's never been leaving anything up to chance. It's just part of his kind of routine of psyching people out. I prefer the take on Harvey Dent you get in the animated series from the 90s, which is basically he was always crazy, but the scarring just pushed him over the edge, basically. Which is kind of, he's always kind of like a split personality. He fights between his good half and his bad half, and then, the scarring kind of sets in the bad half, basically. Which I hope they do in the Batman Part 2, because I think Sebastian Stan's meant to be playing him, so I presume he'll become Two-Face at some point in the film, but I hope they do something different to what they did with the Dark Knight.
Well, Sam, now going back to the opening scene, do you think this could be the best opening scene in like popular action cinema?
It's got to be up there. It's so good, and obviously I loved seeing it in cinemas, but when on this film's anniversary, I think it's the 10th anniversary, 2018, I think it got re-released in IMAX cinemas because I hadn't seen this in IMAX the first time round, and just seeing that opening scene on an IMAX screen, it's up there with my favourite like cinema experiences ever. It's so amazing. It was better than seeing The Dark Knight Rises entirely in IMAX a couple of years later, where because I left I think me and my group of friends were late, so we got like the last few seats, and they were right at the front. And the problem with being right at the front of the IMAX screen is you feel pain in your neck and shoulders for the next few days because you're just craning up at the top of the screen for the whole film.
It's so damn good. It's got all the different guys talking about the Joker, killing each other off, and then the final bit with the mob bank runner too, or manager.
Yes. Yeah, because when I first saw that, and they said, "Oh, there's silent alarm, but it's not calling the cops; it's going to a private number." And I was thinking when I first saw it, I was thinking, "Oh, I wonder if it's calling Batman instead of the cops," But no, it was calling the gangsters, and then no, they were being robbed.
And he's that guy who I go, oh, that's that guy from The Dark Knight who runs the bank, but I don't know his name.
But Bill Fichtner, or William Fichtner, who's worked with Michael Mann and he's done a lot of Michael Bay films. But he's one of these guys. He's not usually in major roles, but he's usually one of those who's like, oh, that guy, I like that guy. This film's Last Massacre better because he's got a scene in it.
He's also I'll always mix him up with the guy who plays Thomas Schiff too.
Yeah. That's true.
I just and then both of them I just associate with. Oh yeah, they're both in The Dark Knight. There's probably also James Spader, who should have been in The Dark Knight.
But I mean, again, incredible cast. So obviously you have all the returning people come back. You have Maggie Gyllenhaal, replacing Katie Holmes, and Aaron Eckhart and Heath Ledger coming in. You also have people like Eric Roberts, in a very entertaining role. It's like I never want to see this other gangster character again because I just think, but you're not Eric Roberts. You're not as fun as his take on that character.
Yeah, he's Sal Maroni in this one.
Yeah,
since the other Falcone's crazy. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So in the comics, he's the other major gangster. Who's not Falcone. Really, they're usually the rival kind of crime families. And in the comics, he's the guy who scars Harvey Dent. Actually, he's and they reference it in the court scene where he's kind of questioning that guy about kind of the Falcone crime family, where the guy pulls a gun on Harvey. In the comics, that guy who's Maroni in the comic, I think, pulls a bottle of acid out of his jacket pocket and chucks it at his face. So that's how he gets scars in the comics. But instead of this, he pulls a gun and Harvey disarms him.
Yeah. And then also Maggie Gyllenhaal, seamless transition from Katie Holmes, by the way. But she's in the better movie, so bummer for Katie.
Well, they just give her so much more to do, I think, don't they? She's a very active character, whereas I think Rachel Dawes in Batman Begins, she was a bit of a damsel, I think, apart from like a bit, you're trying to deliver the antidote, towards the end. She's, it just didn't give her enough to work with, I don't think, really.
Yeah, but, kind of really realizing, mom movie with the Joker, like that was a brilliant idea. The pencil scene will never not be great. They're on FaceTime with the Chinese guy, and then he just turns it off after the Joker puts his face through the pencil.
Yeah. It was. I can see I know a squealer when I see one, and
oh my god! But there's the great line. It's simple. We kill the Batman.
Yes, all the lip smacking. Yeah, I think obviously his performance was universal praise. I think a few critics had a problem with all his kind of physical tics and stuff, but I think it's all part of the package, really. It's just. He obviously describes himself as like a dog chasing cars towards the end, and there's definitely something kind of animalistic about him. One of my favourite little moments is when again he almost taps into another level of like crazy, where he's torturing the guy on camera. He gets to deliver a message, and he's kind of, he's one of the fake Batmans, and he's getting information out of it, and the guy's just kind of looking at his shoes, and he goes, oh, come on, look at me, and then he just kind of drops his voice like 3 octaves and just goes, look at me.
Does his Batman voice.
Yeah, basically.
And so Batman has to go get the Chinese guy, which is a great action action scene too.
Yeah.
And
then
the Joker...
He's had his suit redesigned at this point, hasn't he, to be more maneuverable, you know.
Yeah, can move his neck now.
Of course, they've got to get in that line that separation of the plates makes him more vulnerable to knives. Oh, what does the Joker use? But yeah, so obviously you have... again, the action is just another level in this film, isn't it? I think. I mean, you have, you know, the big Batmobile versus truck, and then turning to the motorbike, the Bat Pod, I think, as it's called, you know, and then the truck being flipped and everything. But then, yeah, you get the Hong Kong scene, that kind of that skydive into, you know, and glide around.
Stealth Batman,
yeah. And of course, Christian Bale and taking it seriously. Of course, he sat up there on that building for real. He was Tom Cruise before Tom Cruise was doing those kinds of stunts for Mission.
The scene where the Joker pretends he's dead and then he pops out and he does the first, you want to know how I got these scars. And that one, it's his dad was a drinker, and he threatened to do it to his mom, and then he did it to him. Because let's put a smile on that face. Why so serious? It's so good.
Yeah, and again, recruiting after he's killed, the gangster Gamble. Recruiting his henchmen, saying, "Because we're looking so." We're going to be looking to aggressive expansion.
Aggressive, yeah.
And we get recruited to our team, but there's only one spot at the moment, so we're gonna have tryouts. And he snaps a pool cue in half and chucks it down. Make it fast.
Yeah, and by the way, that and the bit with dragging Batman and Lau on a rope behind a plane, both of those taken in the opening scene of Dark Knight Rises, but again, we will get to that. Now this is the first bit with the great intercutting, and for me that's what makes the movie like amazing. It's not the Joker. You could have a different villain, I think, and this would still be a great action movie, because from here on out, all of the great sequences are two things happening in parallel that are connected, and like they're perfectly timed. They're all so tense. Great editing.
I mean, one of the issues I do have with it, and I've always had with it, I think it's as close to like a perfect cop movie as you can get for like 3/4 of the runtime. I've always just had an issue with the boat scene at the end of the Joker and his little social experiment. I just don't think it works. Just something about it, the way the lines are played, it's just a bit clunky for me. Just a bit, I don't know. It seems to jar a bit for me. But I think like the end stuff with Harvey is really compelling, I think. But the Joker stuff, I think once he's blown up the hospital, I think you could kind of almost run off and just go straight to the Harvey stuff, and the film not really lose anything, you know.
The intercut scene here is the assassinations of the different figures on whose DNA was on the Joker card, as well as Harvey and Rachel getting taken with the party that's going on. So and then they finally collide when the Joker shows up. And I guess that's they put Harvey and Rachel in the cars after that, because they're in the scene, because the Joker's holding the knife to her, and that's the second want to know how I got the scars bit, and that time it's my wife had scars, and I told her I loved her, and then I gave myself some and she left me, and so now I'm always smiling. Sees the funny side. I mean that's another great Joker moment, isn't it? You know, where he arrives at the party, you know, he kind of grabs a glass of champagne, chucks it, and kind of pretends to swig it, you know, and then grabs like a canapé, something, and then starts flirting with with Rachel, kind of combing his hair back with his knife hands, you know. And then the funny Batman line, he tells Rachel, "You got some fight in you."
I like that.
I like that.
The nigger love me.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's so good. And then the Joker has a shoe knife, and
yes, of course he does.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's awesome.
I mean that's a very good gag, isn't it? Later on, where they've caught him, taken him to the GCPD, and they kind of turning out his pockets.
The
Nothing in his pocket.
MCU,
Yeah,
which
nothing in
is a
his.
funny
Yeah,
name.
yeah, nothing in his pockets but knives and lint, and then lining up all these knives they pull out his pockets, and there's like a little potato peeler at the end.
Let's see. There's the some men just want to watch the world burn line. Sorry, Alfred,
Yeah,
I don't want to like shortchange you, but there's
yeah,
so much in this movie.
yeah. I mean, yeah, one of my favorite match cuts. Again, it's kind of like almost an ironic kind of match cut of kind of the end of Michael Caine's story about this bandit who was robbing all these jewels and then throwing them away, and there was no point to it. And then it kind of comes back later, and Bruce says, "How did you you kind of stop the bandit, Alfred?" And he goes, "We burnt the forest down." And then from burnt the forest down, it cut straight to Harvey Dent's in the hospital bed, half burnt. I just love that kind of match. It's yeah,
Well,
I mean, I think this is the high point of Michael Caine kind of as Alfred kind of performance of the whole trilogy. He's got some great kind of speeches, monologues. I think Michael Caine just really sells the hell out of it. You also get like both Gordon and Fox. You get to do a lot more as well. It's like that's just all the kind of supporting players from the first film that came back get to do so much more interesting stuff in this, which I love.
yeah. Then you have the saving Harvey and Rachel bit, which again,
Yeah,
going against the clock. You got two different people, teams going there trying to get them,
yeah,
and they save Harvey. Rachel
yeah,
blows up,
yeah,
unfortunately, and
yeah,
because Harvey's face was oily when the fire
yeah,
kind of catches it,
yeah,
it
yeah.
burns half his
Yeah,
face.
yeah, it is. It's like I suppose a realistic kind of in quotes take on how do you explain a guy being perfectly burnt down half his body, of course, with his lying kind of that side of his body in the oil, and then I mean it's very good how it's executed actually because they get him out of the building as it blows up, and you think they're okay, but it's almost like a spark kind of jumps a bit too far and then basically just sets the oil off, and just kind of it's like lighter fuel, like a barbecue, and like toss a match in. Basically, it's like that. But yeah, that's it's again, it's like a kind of a gritty kind of take on that kind of quite normally exaggerated kind of supervillain.
Yeah, like you mentioned earlier with the guy throwing acid at his face.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then after that is the hospital sequence, which is incredible. Also, the Joker's there,
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
like blow it
yeah,
up.
yeah. And of course, you have the lovely because you've always got to have this whenever a major character's been horribly disfigured. You've got to have the reveal moments, haven't you? And you're going to tease that with the audience, and it's going to come at just the right moments. And of course, Gordon comes in, all kind of contrite, and kind of remorseful, and kind of saying, the doctors say you're in horrible pain, that you've refused painkillers and skin grafts, and then Harvey just kind of he's got his other side of his kind of still whole side of his face to Gordon. He goes, "You remember that name that they used to call me in Internal Affairs? What was it, Gordon?" And Harvey, I don't remember. Say it. And then also this is such a good jump scare because no matter how many times I hear this, I see this scene, it always catches me that just how loud he says, "Say it."
Like that, like the Joker earlier.
Yeah, and then goes Two-Face, and then of course he turns the camera and you see he's basically got a skull on one side of his face now, which again, even now is such a cool effect. I mean,
Yeah, it looks great.
I think they tried doing makeup, obviously ended up doing it CG because there was no other way of like basically reducing the mass of his face down, kind of convincingly. So, but yeah, it's such a good effect, and just how I think when he's like really kind of agitated, it's almost like the muscles almost seem to like spring forward, a bit kind of. I think it'd be very easy to make a character like that look like a zombie, but it actually looks like, just a guy, who's just had most of his flesh removed on kind of, one side of his body. But yeah, it's and just Aaron Eckhart's performance, I think, is just kind of the kind of the obviously he's acting through the pain, but it's also just driven by pure rage and need for vengeance at that point. It's just and he's just getting so much out of. He's getting like the only kind of satisfaction he can get out of just seeking kind of his own brand of justice from that point onwards.
Yeah, and that's kind of they're trying to go protect Harvey from that explosion, and then also there's the guy who works for Wayne that's gonna expose him, but then the Joker says we're going to assassinate him. And anybody could do it.
Yeah, another good Morgan Freeman moment with that. Yeah, the company guy who says that basically has noticed their secret kind of department of Wayne Enterprises that's been making all of Batman's stuff, and basically he works out, basically puts together, it must be Bruce Wayne, then it's Batman, and then he tries to blackmail and says, I want, was it 10 million a year for the rest of my life to keep quiet? And Lucius Fox, Morgan Freeman replies with, so let me get this straight, you think your client, one of the most powerful men in the world, who spends his nights beating villains to a pulp, and you want to blackmail this person? Good luck.
Yep. And then he does, and the Joker's like, well, that's not fun, so everybody go murder this guy. And the guy in the car with Gordon is going to do it, but he disarms him because Gordon's a good guy. But then you have the two bombs bit that you don't like that much, but I mean, I do, in the sense that it's a bigger spectacle to try and prove the Joker's point, because he's proved it with Harvey, but now he wants to show, and look, I can just do it with any person. They're gonna blow each other up, either the convicts or the normal people. But nice old tiny Lister, he throws the detonator out the window they should have 10 minutes ago. He tells the guard, "I
should have done what you should have did 10 minutes ago."
But because he's a big menacing black man, we're supposed to think that maybe he's gonna blow up the other people.
No, it's the whiny white middle-aged man on the other boat I don't trust.
Yep. And that is intercut with the Batman and the Joker fighting, which is the least compelling. The action, it's cool, but
because he's unleashed his secret program, secret telecommunications projects, which basically is spying on the whole city. So
using everybody's cell phone,
everybody's phone, is microphone and a camera. Again, that's a nice gag when he's telling Lucius Fox telling about the technology before he implements it, and he goes, "Oh yeah, so it's sends a signal out and bounces back to you. So like a yes, Mr. Wayne, like a submarine." But and I've seen that fight. He's got fancy bat vision. So seeing all the criminals kind of around him on this. It's basically some scaffolding, aren't they? Like a building kind of midway through construction.
It's like a mini The Raid, and he can see through all the floors and walls.
Yeah. But then he gets hit on the side of the head, and the goggles screw up for a bit, and then then the Joker gets a few hits in. Joker, by the way, who's got these two massive Rottweilers, which I presume the dogs that the Russian guy had, the other gangster earlier in the film.
Because he says all of your people work for me now, and I guess that includes the dogs. Or maybe he says henchmen or something. But then after that is the great Harvey Gordon Batman confrontation. As Two-Face is going to kill Gordon's son, Batman himself. He's flipping coins for all of them.
I mean, that scene, basically anyone in that scene could have got Best Supporting Actor nomination just for that. I think they're all just so kind of top of the game and bouncing off each other so well. Just the emotions is just so kind of just kind of hit so hard. I mean, like Gordon's, he's faltering, kind of really kind of quite subdued until Harvey kind of pulls a gun on his son, and he goes, "Stop pointing that gun at my family."
Yeah, and this is kind of the thesis and point of the film is perception and of good or bad, things like that, because they need Harvey to be the symbol. He's the hero Gotham needs, whereas Batman is the hero Gotham deserves, but not the
Not
one
the
it
one
needs
that
right
needs
now.
right now. Yeah.
Which obviously is, I mean, every line from this movie pretty much is a famous quote.
Yeah. Yeah, and
But
Harvey.
that particular, I could do the whole monologue.
Yeah, and obviously Batman, is forced to put Harvey down. He tackles him off the building, and before he can, he's flipped his coin again, and before he can kill any of Gordon's family, he's taken off the building, killed him, and they basically decide there and then, well, I've got to be the villain. We can't let anyone find out about what he became. He let him be the symbol in his death, that we need, and I'll run. I'll become a true vigilante, and the cops can chase me.
Yep. So we'll hunt him.
Yeah,
so he can take it.
Yeah, and it gives a perfect ending, I think. To if they just left it as like a duology, it would have just worked. That would have been a perfectly good kind of complete story. It's almost a shame that they came back. I mean, I know Dark Rise is decent overall, but it's it's kind of almost undermines the ending to this one a little bit, really.
Yeah, and the other big line before that, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. Yeah. I killed those people. That's who I could be. I'll be whoever Gotham needs me to be.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a bummer. Like, it's so stupid that it makes me emotional watching Gordon deliver a line about Batman, but like, it's effective. It's so good. And I wish it had just ended there, but I before we get to the last movie, I mean, this is very much a film about like, how do you deal with terrorists and terrorism? And like, it obviously is taking like we need to not be spying on everybody. We need to turn off the mass surveillance system once it's served its purpose. We may have to do a little bit of torturing, but it shouldn't be absolute and all the time and to everybody. And like, there's practicality, but there are also lines drawn on what good men should and should not do. And I think that torture it is wrong, but I also understand that it's a complicated thing whenever it comes to like actual important things.
There's always that argument. If they were going to tell you when where a bombing was going to happen, would you extract that information for the greater good?
I feel like most things that happen in that vein are more like Harvey Dent and less like Batman, and that's the problem. He drops Eric Roberts off leg break height.
Yes,
but it's also, it's not like the harshest critique in the world. It's very middle of the road, but I think it's dealing with it in a way that superhero movies should be dealing with modern issues in a thoughtful way.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, comparing this to Batman Begins, I still think Batman Begins is possibly the best Batman film, just as like a comic version of the comic book character, as an adaptation. But that is the best film, it just happens to have Batman and the Joker in it, but it's like a real compelling, like, crime epic, essentially,
It's so good. And then we have The Dark Knight Rises, which I think very badly wants to be, but it's just it is self-serious and it's too much, too long.
And I liked it a lot when I first saw it, but this is one that's diminished in the rewatching. I think it's I think I have a few more issues each time I do see it, as much as it's got some great moments, and still very good performances for the most part. It's, another great opening scene, of.
I'm sorry, hang on. Are we going to call it great?
Well, probably not compared to The Dark Knight, but I think the opening scene is really good.
Oh, see, I think it is incredibly weird and awkward to the point that Bane posting is an entire genre of comedy. Like, the only reason I like it is that it is hilarious to say, "You're a big guy, for you." I don't think it's a good scene.
Okay, but I think that's more to do with the Bane voice, which was always a weird decision anyway.
It's also the way that things are like put together and delivered, and Like,
yeah.
Dr.
But
Pavel, I'm CIA. Like,
yeah,
that, why not say your name?
yeah.
It's just
But
little things that make it really funny.
But I think it's an early kind of proof of concept for the kind of stuff Chris Nolan would do in like in Tenet, you know, in terms of what he does with like in camera kind of practical effects.
What he already did in Inception. I saw that movie 2 years ago.
Yeah, but you know, the idea of we won't just have a plane crash. We'll have a plane dangling off another plane and kind of collapsing around them, and then they escape out of it. Now I think that's a really good concept for a set piece.
Yeah.
So even if maybe the performances are a little bit ill thought through and don't quite fit together. I mean, generally, I think Bane's kind of plan in this really is just all over the place. Really, you know, the plotting is the weakest by some stretch.
Bane, so they look. The plot of this is Bane wants to take over Gotham and make it occupy Wall Street, and Batman is sad and wants to stop him.
Yeah, but basically, if the Joker was an anarchist, Bane is a terrorist, and he's holding the city to ransom, but not really to ransom, because it's just to effect kind of in his view to effect kind of massive social change. But yes, as we said, it's all over the place. I mean, I remember when the first trailer for it came out, and there were those problems. This is the first complaint of Christopher Nolan with this bad sound mixing that would carry on through, through Tenet. That they couldn't understand what Bane was saying through the mask, which is why his voice sounds so. I mean, the weird voice was always there, but it's why his voice always sounds so weirdly amplified. You know, like speak through like a. Some kind of speaker, because they went back and redid that basically. Apparently, his voice. Tom Hardy was inspired apparently by a Gypsy Roma wrestler from the 50s. Apparently, had a very distinct kind of way of speaking, of addressing his audience before fights. So, yeah. I mean, Tom Hardy loves a weird voice. I mean, I don't think he's ever done the same voice twice in his performances.
I will grant you that, the plane breaking, that aspect of it, it's not bad. But, the whole first half of that scene is just silly dialogue. How did they capture Bane and not know it was Bane? Or was that one of Bane's inside guys that captured him?
Again, how many times are we going to have this plot line from the Silence of the Lambs onwards, really, but then mostly from Dark Knight onwards? The villain gets captured, but he wants to be captured, and then everything he's somehow put into place goes off in perfect sequence without a hitch, in perfect timing. Yeah. So it's the same.
Was getting caught part of your plan? Yeah. Of course. Okay.
Yeah.
But you're a big, it would be extremely painful. You're a big guy. For you. It's cut so awkwardly. Why are they talking over each other? I don't know. It's all real bad, in my opinion. I am wondering, why would you shoot a guy before throwing him out of a plane? That doesn't make Bane insightful. That means Bane is doing my job for me. Write your own thing. Don't have Bane criticize what's happening in the movie. Just write something better.
Yeah. I mean, the whole kind of League of Shadows are back and taking over Gotham and doing what they've planned to do in the first place, but in a slightly different form, kind of works. So quite like how it's all brought full circle back to Begins, including that with the Liam Neeson hallucination later on.
Isn't Bane a rogue, though? I thought he was kicked out of the League of Shadows.
Yeah, but then Talia / Miranda Tate is still running the League of Shadows, and he's working for her, so... I think he's masquerading as a rogue, but really he's working for her. So I like all that. But I think my main issues with this film are issues of structure. Really, I think it'd be so much. Say it drags out. It's so long. It stops and starts so many times. You could solve so much of this because the main kind of famous image from this is based on Knightfall, which is a 90s comic book arc from. Batman comic art where Bane breaks Batman's back, and this classic comic panel of him cracking him over his knee, basically.
Oh, okay.
Which he's obviously doing this, and then he goes to the pit, and he's going to wait for his back to heal and climb out the pit, blah, blah, blah. The problem with this is the film starts with Bruce already kind of past it, injured, kind of recluse, And I was thinking, is he just going to do a weird structure thing? Is that first scene? Is that after the back breaks happened, like a few years later? He's going to get back on the horse. They could have done that, and it would have just made the film so much neater. But instead, he's going to recover from that, and then get injured again, and then recover again. It's just so messy. They could have just solved so many problems just by have that opening scene just be him years after his back's broken, and then he's going to get back and defeat Bane. Just have the one rise, not two rises.
The ending of The Dark Knight, like, it gives a sense of urgency, and I don't get why it doesn't flow right out of that. It's that it's 8 years later. 8 years later since that last movie.
And he's not Batman, and he's not Batman anymore, and it's Bruce Wayne, guys. He's Howard Hughes now.
Yeah. It's Bruce being sad. Nobody sees him. He's not even participating in like socialite life. So that's, not suspicious at all that Bruce Wayne has disappeared and Batman has disappeared.
By the way, as much as I love it as a Bond film, Skyfall nicks so much from this.
Yeah, that's not unfair.
It's like...
although they were released the same year, right?
Yeah, maybe it's one of those, a bit like The Raid and Dread, just those weird coincidence things, like plot elements and stuff. But actually, they can't have stolen for each other, unless Christopher Nolan was having lots of chats with Sam Mendes around then. But, they've both got old past it, former hero trying to get back on it, and the whole film wants to be captured and everything going perfectly for them to escape, blah, 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 and the whole big shootout in the capital city and everything around that, and like the main villain's got henchmen everywhere, and ready to spring to their commands at a moment's notice. All that stuff is kind of interesting. You got two big kind of franchise films so close to each other that had those exact plot elements.
Yeah, and there's also two major lulls in the film. There's one between like kind of the opening and then when Bruce and Catwoman finally go down to the sewers. And the other one is after Batman gets his back broken in that scene. Then it's all Bane for a while and no Batman. It's like, oh, I'm watching the Bane rises. Like the Joker doesn't have that much unbroken screen time compared to Bane. And one is a much better character and performance.
Yeah, I mean, give credit to Tom Hardy. He does good eye acting, that's basically all he's got apart from his kind of weird vocalizations. He disappears
into the role because of his giant mask.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the kind of the behind the scenes shots of him next to Christian Bale, and you forget how short Tom Hardy is in comparison to Christian Bale because his boots are just ridiculously huge, and it's given that lift over him. Obviously, it's a good illusion, and he's always shot kind of from low angles as well to make it seem like he's towering over him as well. It's. But obviously, I think we should mention like the new obviously, a lot of the same characters who survived the last film came back, but there's some new additions in this. You've got you've got Anne Hathaway as Selena Kyle, Catwoman, who's mostly they really play out the cat burglar aspects of her character in this, and she's like a sort of a wannabe revolutionary, isn't she? And kind of getting her own back on all those rich people in their ivory towers and.
And I'm going to help the billionaire with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to help the billionaire stop Bane.
And then you've got Joseph Gordon-Levitt as a rookie cop who kind of becomes more and more prominent as it goes on. And
it's so pointless.
Yeah. I mean, basically, if they ever did set in more films in this particular universe of Batman, obviously he would have taken on the role because they set it up that he's basically going to discover the Batcave at the end and become the next Batman or Robin or Nightwing or whoever that ends up being.
I've been watching Breaking Bad lately, and I get why they didn't cast Aaron Paul instead, but I wish this was Aaron Paul instead of Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It would feel a bit more, Robin or Nightwing-y to me, I think. Maybe,
yeah. I mean, I like Joseph Gordon-Levitt as an actor. I think he's decent in this. He's better in Inception, going through his kind of Nolan collaborations, but.
He feels more like young Gordon or something like that, or young Alfred. He doesn't strike me as Robin necessarily. I was not sold on him as like this guy could be a superhero while watching this.
Maybe. Yeah, and then you have other additions. You have like, I mean, I think Matthew Modine's a really good addition to the cast. I think he's really good in this as like the other main cop who's not Gordon. Basically ends up kind of he's like probably the only other kind of semi decent cop, in the city. But he just while Gordon's busy, essentially, he's like the main other guy, and that they clash a bit, but he kind of comes out at the end, when it matters, to lead the Gotham City Police Force into battle. I mean, again, that's issues with the final acts, but the sight, I think, of like an army of cops charging an army of kind of mercenaries on Wall Street is a really.
But we're supposed to be rooting for the cops.
I know, which is weird now, isn't it? But it's a good scene. I like it. I like that. I'm amazed that Chris Nolan got Wall Street shut down for an afternoon, basically, to get that shot.
And then also, like, all of the cops in the city go into the sewer and get trapped down there, and that's really silly.
I know. And there's like an army of tumblers all of a sudden because. Lucius Fox apparently just had those in storage or something.
The Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Hines Ward returns a kick as there's a sinkhole that opens up in the football field.
Yeah.
But the funny part of that scene for me that I never thought about is Bane going, "Lovely singing voice," while the little boy is singing the national anthem.
What a lovely, lovely voice. Yes.
What a lovely, lovely. It's so silly. And I'm like, why? Yeah. Why is this in this movie?
I mean, that was the main, I think, kind of set piece that was all over the marketing. I think they had it in the trailer, didn't they? Of like the football field, blowing kind of reduced to rubble, basically. But I mean, it's a very, again, kind of impressive kind of scene. But I'm not sure if it adds too much. It's
no.
Overall.
I mean, just the symbolism of America. It would be like if the Real Madrid stadium blew up in like a European movie. But it's. The mayor from the last two movies blows up too in his suite. So he's not in the movie anymore. Like, I don't know. There's all the board politics stuff that I do not care about. There's Bruce Wayne going broke, which I do not care about. Just so much in this movie I'm watching and I'm going, is this just over yet? Please? Like the big fight at the end, it's entertaining because something is happening finally, but it's just kind of muddy. And then Talia being like, "I am Ra's al Ghul's daughter," which that's supposed to be my not French accent. And I'm just like, I don't care. Why is this happening? Who cares? I guess Bruce climbing out of the pit, that stuff is cool.
Again, Tom Conti, who's the guy down there who kind of
the doctor.
The guy who gives him all Bane's backstory, or supposedly Bane's backstory, and tells him about like the League of Shadows and everything. I think that's never seen steal a performance. I mean, he's always been a really, really good kind of British character actor. I think he kind of makes his mark in those scenes. But again, it's like the pit is just another thing to take up time, really, isn't it? And it's,
and there is no impact of you thought that was Bane? No, it was Talia, and I'm like, okay, I literally do not care.
They've both got very vivid eyes, so okay, fine. It could have been either of them. And the kid they got looked quite androgynous, so again, difficult to tell. I mean, and it's meant to be a big twist here with Miranda, turning out to be Talia al Ghul, but any even vague fan of Batman comics saw that coming a mile off. So, this strange foreign woman falls in love with Bruce Wayne falls for a hook, line, and sinker, but she seems to have other things going on with her. I wonder who she could be.
See, not being familiar with that stuff, I didn't notice it, but it just kind of fell flat because he does tell her, you can run Wayne Industries, and I'm like, this random lady? Who is this, Bruce? Yeah.
I do like the moment where he's back in the saddle, so to speak. He's got his first time he recovers and becomes Batman again before he gets his back broken. It's like his first night out on patrol, and and you know you hit the cops, you know the old cop and the rookie cop, and the guy goes, oh, you know, when he kind of realizes what's happening, he goes, say something like, "Oh, you're gonna see something tonight, kids." You know, it's like Batman's back, yay! He's here to clean up our mess finally.
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
yeah, and there was another point I was going to make. Oh yeah, obviously, yeah, we get Batman's stupid spaceship towards the end as well. I mean, so because the Batwing previously in all the different versions, it was not normally just like a plane, like a bat-shaped plane, but this one, because it's like super advanced technology, it just looks like something from Star Wars, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
like R-type,
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, I mean, credit to Nolan, they did kind of build a life-size thing and then put it like basically on a massive crane to fly it around the city, basically. So they did it as practically as could be done. But yeah, it's just, again, it's something to put in the trailer. It doesn't really do, they don't really do a lot with it. It's just in the final kind of action bonanza, really.
And yeah, also, like, you just completely forget that the kind of driving force of all this is there's a giant nuke, and like, okay, you know, like, it just becomes absurd. Batman is in his super space plane flying a nuclear warhead into the ocean where it will blow up,
and he can't help but think of that very memeable scene of the Adam West Batman. Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
It's like, yeah, how far does he fly away that, like, it doesn't matter? You know, I'm pretty sure nuclear explosions like affect beyond a few miles, but I don't know. Also, I like that the logistics of people escaping and trying to get out of Gotham is a major theme of these last two films. With the Joker being like, "Oh, the toll and bridge people, you know, you're in tunnel and bridge people, you're in trouble." And in this movie, it's like nobody can leave because they're under quarantine.
Yeah, and because this one's set in winter as well, like the kind of the river's frozen and people are kind of sent out. It's like mob justice, like a kangaroo court. The punishment is just to be sent out onto the ice until they fall through a hole. I mean, that's again, Cillian Murphy's one scene. This is very entertaining. He's the judge at the kangaroo court. He goes, what's the verdict? Because what is it? Death or exile? Or I'll choose exile. Excellent. Death by exile.
Yeah.
Sold to the man in the cold sweat.
Oh, but for the most part, like, I'm just checking my watch going, is this over yet?
Yeah.
It is such a down step from the last movie.
We've not talked about the music much in this film. I mean, I think that's a very big part of the kind of the trilogy, really. Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard's kind of really kind of superb kind of orchestration. I mean, they've got like the main kind of Batman themes, which they use sparingly in the Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, but the moments they do pick for them, they work really well. But like all the character themes and stuff they do, and then in this one, like the chanting, they bring in like Bane's theme and the stuff with the pits, which apparently Hans Zimmer came up with. He just kind of found a rhythm he likes, and then kind of found some, I think, Arabic words that vaguely fit that. And I think it's something like "desh vasara," something like that. And I think it basically, I mean, they say that what's that mean? It means rise. And basically, it's sort of like a approximation of that in Arabic, basically.
Yeah, and all the music, it fits really well. Like, I like when a film score, it just meshes with the movie and I don't notice it too much. And that does work well in these.
Yeah, I mean, all of the tracks, I call it that Batman, going back to Batman Begins, all the tracks on the soundtrack album, all the tracks are named after different species of bats. So,
I've never noticed that.
No. Whereas I think in the other two, they just name tracks after the characters they're supposed to represent.
Scenes, things like that.
Scenes, I'm not sure what to think about Anne Hathaway in this. I mean, I think she does a decent job, and but I'm not sure if. I mean, probably her kind of best scene is kind of when they're out on the roof and she disappears on Batman. You know, he's so used to leaving a scene midway through and leaving someone to talk to himself, and then he turns around and no, she's gone.
Oh, sorry. Also, this is the classic her Batman dancing, and he has to take the pearls that she stole, but I don't know. Like it feels unnecessary, and it doesn't have to be necessary, obviously, but I don't know. Like Catwoman it feels like in Spider-Man 3 when they're just shoving in villains. We're just shoving in Batman characters in this one.
Yeah. I mean, and then we've got the ending. Obviously, the bomb goes off. Bruce Wayne and Batman are missing, presumed dead. Sorry, but before we get to that, again, another moment I like. I do love that before one last thing he does before he goes to his presumed death is he basically tells Gordon, who's been like his staunch ally throughout this, and it's just like something. Small acts, something simple like putting your coat around a scared child's shoulders, and just leaves Gordon with that thought, which I think is nice. He did that. Nice. He finally let him in on the secret after all these years. But there's source debate. So Batman blows up, over the bay and saves the city.
Well, or does he, Sam?
But then we've got the end scene where around Alfred saying, I hope that you'll be able to give up this life one day, and I'll see you at a cafe in Italy. Is it Florence? I think they're talking about a cafe in Florence, and we'll nod at each other and carry on with our lives. Of course,
because he says over the last 8 years that was my fantasy at the beginning of the movie.
But there's a lot of debate. Again, Christopher Nolan, I wouldn't put it past him. It's like, is this just Alfred's kind of wishful thinking? Is this what he wants to see? Is this a wishful hallucination? Is Bruce actually dead? So debatable. Who knows?
What do you think, Sam? Do you think he's dead or not?
I think it would be a bit of a slap in the face to the audience, really, if it was just a delirious old man seeing what he wanted to see. Who knows?
I don't care. I've always thought alive. And he had like an autopilot.
I think Christopher Nolan has said he said he never intended it to be read that way, but he said if that's how you want to see it, then fine.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's all I have. I really I'll watch this movie because it's a Batman movie, and I do think parts of it are funny, but most of the time I'm tuned out during that. So, it is a massive step down from the other two, especially the last one. And I wish he could have made a different movie instead of this,
or just left it with Dark Knight.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean a different Batman. I mean, spent the year or whatever that he made this making another movie.
I mean, I suppose he'd done his original blockbuster, a couple of years before this with Inception, hadn't he? So maybe this was the last one for them. He felt like he needed to do in his career, and then he got the keys to the kingdom. He could make whatever he wanted from here on out.
Yep, which he does now, thankfully. We have Interstellar and what else has come out since then? Tenet
and Dunkirk, and
Oppenheimer.
And obviously Oppenheimer, And of those, Interstellar and Tenet frustrate me for different reasons. I can't say I'm a big fan of either of them, but again, like this, they've got great moments. Overall, they just don't really do it for me. But
I'll take them both over this every day.
But I love Dunkirk and I love Oppenheimer, and I'm hoping to love the Odyssey as well. Everything I've seen about it sounds promising. So bring it on.
Agreed. All right. Well, that's it for the Dark Knight trilogy. We'll be back next week with something else. Until then, Sam, where can people find you?
You can find me at SSP Thinks Film and at the Second Cut Pod Substack, where this week I've published a double review of Toy Story 5 and I Am Frank Elder, which is on Netflix at the moment. A really interesting and quite disturbing stop-motion animation from Mexico. It's on Netflix currently, so check those out. And if you want to go back to our post from last year, I did a 20th anniversary of Batman Begins this time last year, so that's up there as well if you want to check it out.
Yeah, The Dark Knight is almost 20 years old. I hate that. Yeah, you can find me at Jacob Film Guy. I forget what. Oh, I didn't get to go see anything this weekend because of the holiday, but yeah, I saw Toy Story 5. It's all right. Yep, but yeah, that is it. You can find Kieran also at KJudgmental, although he does not want you to find him anywhere. And you can email us at secondcutpod. Find us everywhere at secondcutpod@gmail.com. And that is it. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.